Hi DB subscribers and welcome back to the channel. Today is focused on why I regret not pushing my clients even harder in 2021 to complete their final salary pension transfer. Now, any of you who have been following your CETV value over the course of the past couple of years will by now realize there was a sweet spot in 2020 and 2021 when we're coming off the back of a financial crisis where we still had artificially low interest rates plus a global pandemic brought the base rate in the UK down to 0.1 and 0.25%, which obviously meant inverse relationship between interest rates and CETVs, with the 10 and the 20-year gilt rate sitting in between the two and is what actually creates the difference in your CETV value. Now, what I can say is, during that period of time, I did push my clients. I said to people very strongly, look, completing a pension transfer now is potentially a very advantageous time for you. Now, in all honesty, I didn't realize that I didn't expect that in 2022, we would see such an aggressive rising of interest rates from the Fed and the Bank of England. The reason I mentioned the Fed, despite the fact that the Fed actually has nothing to do with your CETV in the UK, is that actually in reality they do. Because the Fed is basically the most powerful reserve in terms of monetary policy. The UK and the EU always follow the Fed. So whatever Jerome Powell does, for example, they do 75 basis points. The UK economy actually didn't really have the balls to do a 75 basis points. So they typically did 0.25 or a 50% basis point increase in interest rates. However, if I had pushed people even harder in 2021 to get their CETVs or to proceed to an authorized DB advice process, they would now be in a much better position. Now, when I say regret, I'm kind of being a little bit tongue-in-cheek here. I don't really necessarily regret things because here at Cameron James, we give people advice very strongly. And I shouldn't necessarily use the word advice. When we're looking at a DB advice report, they have to go through their authorized advice process, and that is the official advice they get. However, there's much that comes before that. Should they even get a CETV? When should they get their CETV? Timing, etc. We send a lot of emails to clients, and we actually had a framework template email which went out to people explaining the current situation of interest rates. I feel the only thing I could have done more, which probably would have pissed a lot of people off, was to have called them and said, I can't give you advice on whether your CETV is going to go up or down, because I don't know that by definition. But I basically think you're making a massive mistake right now. You're an idiot, and you should start looking at your suitability for a DB pension transfer if you're considering doing a transfer, because I think the interest rates are going to go up. Now, obviously that would piss a lot of clients off, and you're possibly borderline going past the point where a client goes through an advice process with you and says, thanks very much guys, thanks for all the information. I've actually decided not to proceed with an authorized DB advice process. In certain instances, that's the correct decision. Maybe they really shouldn't even consider a suitability advice report because it's clearly unsuitable for them in their own opinion from the beginning. However, for those borderline clients, maybe could have called them and been more aggressive, but then you verge into becoming that aggressive sales tactic financial advisor who is telling people what to do rather than trying to guide people and let people make their own decisions. So I don't necessarily regret it, but there's a few clients thinking back where probably we could have been even more aggressive with them and just said, you know, you're really making potentially a huge mistake here. I think you should proceed to at least get your guaranteed CETV. I can remember telling so many clients though, even at the start of this year, so many clients saying, oh, well, I'm a little bit on the fence at the moment. I'm looking at this IFA, I'm looking at that IFA, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I said to everyone, it doesn't matter which IFA you're going to work with, put your CETV request in now, because interest rates are going to go up. I'm not God, I don't know that because I'm smarter than anyone else in the room. I know that because I watched the minutes from the Bank of England and the Fed. Jerome Powell has actively gone online on the media saying there will be further interest rate increases over the course of 2022 to curb the inflation that we currently have in the economy. So clients who are saying to me, oh, I'm not going to get a CETV now, it's basically just acting on emotion rather than acting on economics. And my job as a financial advisor is to try to help clients remove the emotion. Emotion is not helpful to finances. It is very, very damaging, in fact, to long-term portfolio wealth. You have to base your decisions on rationale and economics. And economically speaking, over the course of 2022, it was obvious interest rates were going to rise. And you can see from many of my previous videos on this, I'm not now sitting because they've gone up and now I'm sitting saying, oh, look what happened. I've been saying this for months. I've been saying this for the past year to clients that they really need to crack on and get their CETVs done. So if you're currently in the situation now that you still haven't requested your CETV and you think, oh, I've missed it, I've missed the opportunity, etc., etc., as I've said in a couple of my other videos, your CETV value itself is not the number one defining factor in whether you should complete a pension transfer. I know that for you as a client it is, because I listen to you guys and I talk to you every day, but from a PTS perspective, it is about the suitability of that advice. Whether your CETV is 500k or 600k is not going to make the difference to them advising you to transfer or not, because you're still giving up guaranteed safeguarded benefits which might not necessarily be suitable for you in your wider picture. However, from a client perspective, I'm client facing, I understand you want the highest CETV as possible, but don't allow yourself to be benchmarked by what you could have had in 2020 and 2021. What I can also say is, during that period of time, as a global pandemic, everyone's scared of dying of a virus which is going around. Not many people were calling up and saying, I think in the middle of this pandemic is a fantastic time to move my pension. It was only really the smartest people in the room, the people who had a background, are actually, if I'm honest, not to be too blowing their own trumpet, it is the people who sat and listened to us. They came through to us and said, you know what, these guys are the experts. I'm going to listen to them. I'm going to get my CETV and I'm going to get an authorized DB advice process. So guys, I hope that's been useful for you. A little bit of information on CETVs and what you can do to try to protect yourself. If you want to book in below for an appointment, you can with myself via the Calendly link. And as always, please like, share and subscribe to the channel to let us know that we're producing good content. Thank you.